Yellowstone Supervolcano earthquakes in and around the Caldera. How often do they occur? This is the new Yellowstone Caldera Chronicles that came out just today. It comes out every week. Here is a map of the earthquakes plotted for 2000 to 2019. The blue are earthquake swarms, and the red are individual earthquakes. Yellowstone Caldera Chronicles is a weekly column. It's written by scientists and collaborators of Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. And this week's contribution is from Jamie Farrell. He's the assistant research professor with the University of Utah Seismograph Stations and chief seismologist of the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. In a previous Caldera Chronicles article, we discussed the huge earthquake, the 1959 magnitude 7.3 Hebgen Lake earthquake that occurred just west of Yellowstone National Park. Because of this earthquake and the thousands of others that we recorded each year, we know that the area is seismically active and capable of producing large, damaging earthquakes. In fact, because of their rate of occurrence, large earthquakes represent one of the greatest geologic hazards in the area, much more so than a volcanic eruption. The U.S. Geological Survey produces seismic hazard maps for the United States, and the 2019 nationwide long-term assessment shows that the Yellowstone region has some of the highest seismic hazard values in the Intermountain West. The map shows the peaks ground accelerations having a 2% probability of being exceeded in 50 years for a firm rock site. Black box outlines the Yellowstone region, and the map is based on the most recent USGS models for the counter minus US. This is a map for up to 2018. Hawaii, 1998, and Alaska, 2007, and the models are based on seismicity and fault slip rates, and take into account the frequency of earthquakes of various magnitudes. Locally, the hazard may be greater than shown because the site geology may amplify ground motions. Now, how frequently do earthquakes occur in Yellowstone? Often we say that over the long term, Yellowstone averages 1,500 to 2,000 earthquakes every year. And let's look at the last decade, from 2010 to 2019, to better understand this average. During this 3,652-day period, the University of Utah Seismograph Stations, UUSS, located 17,243 earthquakes in the Yellowstone region. This gives an average daily number of earthquakes of 4.7, or one earthquake every 5.1 hours. Of course, about half of these events occur in swarms, so are not even distributed over time. As a comparison, over the last decade, UUSS located 14,080 earthquakes in the Utah region for an average of 3.9 earthquakes per day, or an earthquake every 6.2 hours. The Intermountain West is a seismically active place indeed. One caveat in these numbers is that we are not locally locating every earthquake that happens in Yellowstone, or anywhere for that matter. The ability to record and locate an earthquake is directly related to the number and distribution of seismometers in the region. The seismic network. When an earthquake happens, seismic energy propagates out in all directions, but that energy lessens as it travels away from the source. To get a location and an origin time for an earthquake, you need to record that earthquake on at least 4 stations, and as a result, it's hard to record and locate very small earthquakes if you don't have a dense seismic array, because you can't adequately record small earthquakes on enough stations. The energy from such small quakes dissipates too rapidly to be recorded across the seismic network. In Yellowstone, we have a magnitude of completeness of 1.5 magnitude, meaning that we are reliably recording and locating all earthquakes of 1.5 magnitude and larger. Anything smaller than 1.5 magnitude might be missed depending on the location. Some areas in Yellowstone have more stations, so we're able to record smaller events, but in other areas the network is less dense. As a result, there are probably earthquakes happening all the time, but they're much too small for us to locate and definitely too small for us to feel. Generally, earthquakes smaller than magnitude 3 are not felt. While most earthquakes in the Yellowstone region are in the magnitude from 0 to 2 range, there are always a few that are magnitude 3 or higher and that are felt by people in the area. The largest quake of the past several years was a magnitude 4.8 that occurred near Norris Geyser Basin in March 2014, and that was felt widely across the area. Over the past decade, there were 54 felt events in the Yellowstone region, giving an average of 5 earthquakes felt every year. However, of the 54 felt events, 38 were part of either the 2010 Madison Plateau Swarm or the 2017-18 Maple Creek Swarm. So while there is always a chance that visitors to Yellowstone will feel an earthquake, the chances increase if there is a significant swarm occurring. In fact, some of the first tourists, quote-unquote, to Yellowstone felt earthquakes. In 1871, Ferdinand V. Hayden led a federally funded expedition to the Yellowstone region to explore the many wonders in the area, and while camping on the north shore of Yellowstone Lake near the current Steamboat Point, they recorded the following passage. Quote, "This morning, August 20th, about 1 o'clock, we had quite an earthquake. The first shock lasted about 20 seconds and was followed by 5 or 6 shorter ones. Duncan, who was on guard, says that the trees were shaking and that the horses that were lying on the ground sprang to their feet. We had 3 shocks during the morning." End quote. Because of the earthquakes that they felt in this area, they named this camp Earthquake Camp. These earthquakes were probably part of a swarm. So the next time you visit Yellowstone, we can virtually guarantee that there will be earthquakes occurring while you are there. The odds are that you won't feel any of these quakes, but there's always a chance that a felt event may occur, and an outside chance that the event could be strong, like those that have struck the Yellowstone area in the past. Remember, Yellowstone is earthquake country, and people should be prepared for the consequences of damaging events. For the latest information on earthquakes in Yellowstone region, you can visit the website Quake Utah Education. On that link, and this is Quake Utah Education recent earthquake map, and this is what we had just south of the Caldera, a 3.4 that we had today. 3.4, a depth of 3.1 miles. We know that the roof of the magma chamber is 3 miles below the surface, so that's right there around the roof of the magma chamber, and if it were here, that is. Okay, let's go in a little bit that way, into the map. There we go. That's it, and you can see the greater area of the earthquakes here in Montana. This is around Hebgen Lake right there. A little bit more. That inverted Z is Hebgen Lake right there. Okay, there we go. Hebgen Lake right there. And this is the Caldera area right here. Right here. And this is Yellowstone Lake, which is part of the southeastern part of the Caldera. Right here. And we can see some of these things. Okay, that's 1 magnitude. As you can see, some of them are small. 7.8 miles down, 9.3 miles down, 1 magnitude. And again, 6.5 miles down. So these are the latest quakes today. This is 2.6, about 10 days ago. I'll leave links below for you for this. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.